So thank you so much again. I really appreciate this. And I wanted to ask you about the recent events this week and the military exercises by the Chinese military. What was your response? I mean, I know we've seen this before, but this was a big one.
Several things we can say about the Chinese military threat against Taiwan. The first is China used the pretext of President's meeting with Speaker McCarthy of the U.S. Congress. But the President has been visiting our diplomatic allies all the time. So this time around, there's no exception at all. And China used that as a pretext to launch major military exercises against Taiwan. Is unacceptable, totally unacceptable. And this kind of behavior should be condemned strongly by Taiwanese people. And I know the international partners of Taiwan, especially fellow democracies, also see this as a very dangerous sign of Chinese expansionism. And in this regard, we should continue to caution China, never resort to any threat of use of force or actual use of force against any other country. What China wants to do to Taiwan is to eliminate Taiwan's international support. Whenever there's high-level meetings in between Taiwan and other countries, or whenever there are high-level delegations visiting Taiwan, China always resort to the threat of military force. What that means is that China does not want this to go on. But if you look at Taiwan, Taiwan is a democracy. We have rights to make friends, and we want to make friends the way we want to make. And therefore, international community are also free to show their support for Taiwan. And we should not be stopped by China for making friends. After all, we are democracies, and democracies should support each other.
One of the areas of focus for the Canadian delegation is the discussion about foreign interference and Taiwan's experience with that. We've seen in recent weeks reports and revelations in Canada alleging that the Chinese government tried to interfere in recent Canadian elections. What did you make when you heard about those reports?
When we saw the news of those reports that China was trying to interfere in the Canadian politics or elections, we feel that Canada is not alone. There are other countries, many other countries that China is trying to interfere in their politics through disinformation campaign or through diaspora groups and etc. And the Taiwanese people are saying that, well, we have experienced all that and a lot more, and for many years already. And therefore, we have developed some understanding of the Chinese interference in our domestic politics and trying to undermine our democracy. And because of that, we have accumulated a lot of experience in dealing with the malign influences by China. And if there's any country who want to learn from Taiwan, the way we have gone through all these kinds of problems and the way we have learned our experiences, we welcome those kinds of requests for exchanges. And the Canadian delegation this time around has been raising that issue. And Taiwan is a vibrant democracy, especially represented by very active NGOs. And there are some NGOs who are very active and very positive on this matter. They try to crack the Chinese disinformation campaign, and they try to work with media, they try to work with the Taiwanese government, and they have become internationally renowned in dealing with disinformation. And if the Canadian government or parliament is interested in learning from Taiwan, I'm sure openly all these NGO groups, very well-informed NGO groups and highly experienced, they will be very interested in working together with Canada to deal with the malign influences of the Chinese government.
Yeah, we've heard obviously from the Canadian MPs here and their message to the Taiwanese government. What's your message for them? Is there anything that you would ask of Canada this week?
What we have been saying is that Canada and Taiwan share the same values. You know, we believe in freedom, democracy, protection of human rights, rule of law, and rules-based international order. And therefore, the two sides share all these fundamental values, and it's a very good foundation for Taiwan and Canada to continue to improve relations with each other. And economically, we have also been interdependent with each other. We are living in democracy. The Canadian people are also living in democracy. And what authoritarianism wants is to undermine our democracy. They go through disinformation campaign or interference in our politics to create domestic fusion or to create domestic distrust, to create distrust in between political parties and between the people and the government. They did all that to Taiwan. And this is one lesson that we have learned. And we hope our lesson can be shared with other countries, with other peoples.
A lot of intelligence officials and academic experts, the refrain you hear a lot is that it's not a matter of if but when the Chinese military will try and move on Taiwan. What do you think?
I think I would agree with some of the analysis. It might be 2025, 2027, or 2035, and etc. There's some merits to those analyses, but from our perspective, we should not wait for those years to come. We should be prepared, and we're trying to get prepared. One thing that a lot of people have been analyzing on is the classical analysis on authoritarianism. Whenever an authoritarian state has a problem domestically, like economic slowdown, domestic discontent, they may find a scapegoat outside the country to create the crisis in order to divert the domestic attention or to keep the country together. And for Taiwan, we are so conveniently located right next to China, and we are concerned to be China's scapegoat. And therefore, we need to be doubly concerned other than just those time frames. Their ambition and their expansionism has been noticed by many countries like the United States, Canada, Japan, Australia, and etc. Their ambition is over all Pacific. Their ambition is over Indian Ocean as well. So these kinds of highly provocative and expansionist type of behavior should be met with opposition. And under these kinds of circumstances, when the authoritarianism is continuing to expand, it takes all democracies like Taiwan, Canada, the United States, Japan, and etc. to work with each other to prevent authoritarianism from defining what is theirs or from expanding any further. If we flash back to the Second World War, and look at the origin of the Second World War. It's one country, one man point to one territory and say, that is mine, and that is mine, and they go grab it. It is the same situation in this part of the world. Somebody is saying that Taiwan Strait is mine, Taiwan is mine, East China Sea is mine, and South China Sea is mine, and they want to go grab it. This is very dangerous, and we should stop them from doing this.
Minister, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah, thanks for seeing us.
And appreciate it very much for being interested in speaking with me.